Hi everyone, Reviewer here. This time reviewing on X-Men 2. Now, X-Men 2, or as it's known as X2 or X2 X-Men Unlimited, is meant to be a 2003 superhero film that was directed by Bryan Singer. And of course, the second film is meant to be using elements of the storylines Return to Weapon X and the popular 1982 story X-Men God Loves and Man Kills. Now, I remember as a kid wanting to see the second X-Men movie, but never did at cinema. I remember watching bits and pieces of it, but never sat down to watch it properly. Now, after watching the first film, which I felt was wasted potential, I think X-Men 2 fixes things. So the premise of the film is meant to show after a brainwashed mutant ends up attacking the President of the United States, we kind of see how the X-Men are kind of banded together when an army personnel known as William Stryker, who secretly organised the events and is planning to use Xavier, Cerebro, and his sort of lobotomized son to kind of kill off all mutants. And you can kind of tell this is where Xavier tries to reassure him that his school wasn't meant to be used as a place to help cure his son of his mutant abilities. And you can kind of tell Stryker tries to play the victim, even though he could have signed ownership to Xavier, or basically just left his son at the school. And I think for the most part, you can kind of tell there's a moment where some of the X-Men do questionable things, or some of them do have flaws. I think when you've got one of the X-Men members, Pyro, it's kind of clear the character is meant to be a kind of counterpart to Iceman. While Bobby does try to control his powers and knows to be responsible, I think the point of John, who later becomes Pyro, is meant to be a bit more psychopathic, a bit more unhinged. And I think when he does attack a group of police officers, he never gets berated for it. And when he does talk to Magneto, it kind of shows that Magneto helps him to kind of embrace his identity. And him taking Pyro just shows you deep down that John was just too far gone to be helped. I think for the most part, I would say the film does work at times, where we do kind of see how Magneto and the X-Men band together, as they both know that Stryker is too dangerous to be left unchecked. I think there's also moments I do think the film could have worked better. I think the problem with the romance between Jean Grey and Wolverine doesn't work, because one, it feels like they're trying to throw in too many love triangles that doesn't really work. I think when you kind of have Jean Grey sacrificing herself, we really don't have time to get to know her. So there's really no emotional connection with her character. The point about doing a film series, if you have time to get to know the character, then you can build up the sympathy and get to know who the character is. And I kind of feel when you've got Iron Man's sacrifice, it works because you had more time to get to know Tony Stark and got to sympathize on his death. I think as well, the first X-Men movie did felt weak and kind of less of a story. Here, we do see a lot more repercussions from the first film, and we are going to see future repercussions to the third X-Men movie. We do kind of see that, Xavier's school does have flaws, mainly with Pyro, as he's never really put into any proper detention or called out on his behaviour. And I think they do kind of show that Stryker could have given his son to Xavier, but refused to take any responsibilities. And I know the point of Stryker's son, Jason, is meant to be a fusement of Mastermind, and I think it's a shame they never used Mastermind in the X-Men films, as I think there was a lot they could have done with Mastermind's character. I think, to me, the first X-Men movie was weaker, but I think the second X-Men movie does fix things, like Wolverine looking for more clues to his past, and we would eventually learn more about it in Wolverine X-Men Origins Wolverine, and understand more about the Weapon X thing, despite some continuity errors. So I think, to me, the second X-Men movie improves over the first one, despite some screw-ups. So I think it deserves a thumbs up. It still fixes things, despite obviously rushing characters in too much at too little time. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.